It's taken quite a while, but the successor to the Galaxy Tab S9, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S11, is finally here. That's right, there's a new truly premium 11-inch tablet from Samsung again, featuring a very bright AMOLED, a powerful processor, and the S Pen is included too. I've reviewed it extensively over the past few weeks, written and worked with it in several cafes, played Fortnite of course, but I've also built a small workstation using the S11 as the basis. It's a great tablet, but it's not the best option for everyone. In this video, I'll tell you when the S11 is the perfect tablet for you and for whom it's better to go for an alternative. At a glance, the Galaxy Tab S11 looks just like its predecessor, but there's one big improvement. With up to 1600 nits peak brightness, it's now brighter than pretty much every other Android tablet on the market and on a similar level as the iPad Pro. We're getting an 11-inch AMOLED again with beautifully deep blacks and great contrast. It's very sharp as well. The resolution is 2560 by 1600 pixels and it supports 120 Hz. Since it's so bright, you can use the S11 outside in direct sunlight, so it'd even be something for the beach. In a direct comparison to the iPad Pro, the Samsung tablet is actually still a tiny bit darker, even though they are equally bright on paper. But the S11 is significantly brighter than the OnePlus Pad 3, which is a cheaper flagship alternative. Colors on the S11 look great, vibrant but not overdone. I think it's fantastic for watching Netflix, YouTube, Disney Plus and so on. However, the iPad Pro has a bit more natural colors in direct comparison. If you'd like to edit photos with accurate colors, the Apple tablet would be better suited. From the side, it can also sometimes have a slight magenta tint, really just a tiny bit. In some video recordings, the display has a strong magenta tint. That's not the case in reality, but is due to the iPhone 17 Pro Max that we use for some B-roll footage. So don't worry, in reality it only has a tiny tint from the side and you can adjust the white balance in the settings anyways. It's also well suited for movies and series thanks to the 4 speakers. The sound quality is really good. I compared it again with the iPad Pro M4 and the OnePlus Pad 3. All three are extremely close, it's hard to hear a difference. The OnePlus might sound a little bit better, but it's also larger and has more volume, so larger tablets almost always sound a bit better. Inside the Galaxy Tab S11 sits the MediaTek Dimensity 9400 Plus, a premium processor that aims to play in the same league as Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite. Additionally, there's 12GB of RAM and 128 to 512GB of internal storage. For a premium tablet, 128GB is pretty little, but hey, at least there's a microSD card slot. The S11's performance is excellent in the real world. It never felt slow to me and was always very quick to respond. I edited a 4K video in LumaFusion and that works very well. Truly great, even the export was fast. To get even more out of the tablet, I built a small workstation with the S11 as the base. I used a USB-C dock with a built-in tablet stand and connected an external monitor, an external SSD, and internet via Ethernet, and of course a mouse and keyboard. Then I turned on Samsung DeX and got some work done, and that works really well. Software-wise, DeX has smaller bugs sometimes, so the desktop mode isn't perfect yet. But the system is stable and the performance is excellent, nothing lags. By the way, I've linked the accessories I use with the S11 in the description. I find the dock particularly great and really useful. In the Geekbench 6 benchmark, the processor performance is a bit weaker than the OnePlus Pad 3, which is a cheaper alternative. But the graphics performance is better. And in all aspects, it's significantly more powerful than the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9, its direct predecessor. In the 3D Mark graphics test, it surprised me that the S11 is more powerful than the OnePlus Pad 3 with the Snapdragon 8 Elite. Not by much, but a bit. And it's naturally more powerful than the S10 series. The iPad Air with the Apple M3 chip is even faster, but only a little bit, so it's really impressive that this MediaTek chip gets so close to the M3. I also played lots of games including Fortnite, Genshin Impact and Vampire Survivors. All three perform great. Fortnite runs at a stable 60 FPS with epic settings, meaning everything turned up to max. Sounds great, but actually you can't even select 90 or 120 FPS. You can only play at 120 if you select lower graphics settings. That's not due to the pure performance of the chip, but more because of the brand of the chip. Many games are better optimized for Snapdragon chips. For instance, on the OnePlus Pad 3, you can select Epic and 120 FPS and it runs well. Vampire Survivors runs perfectly at 60 FPS, which is not surprising. Genshin Impact also runs very well, and generally of course every game will continue to run well on the S11 for years to come. As I said, the Dimensity 9400 Plus is a very powerful chip, but since some games are better optimized for Snapdragon processors, you'll be able to squeeze slightly more performance out of the OnePlus Pad 3 for gaming. Samsung stays true to itself visually. The S11 looks almost exactly like the Tab S9, and that's not a bad thing. The chassis is entirely aluminium, is very thin now at 5.5mm and weighs 469 grams. It's great that the IP68 certification has remained, so it's still protected against water and dust. That's still a rarity for tablets. The magnetic area for the S Pen is missing on the back now. You used to be able to charge the pen that way. It's missing because this time you cannot even charge the pen because it doesn't have a battery. The under-display fingerprint sensor works reliably and is precise. In addition to a USB-C 3.2 port, there's also a microSD card slot. And if you've got the 5G version, there's also space for a SIM card. The 30-megapixel main camera on the back and the 12-megapixel front camera both deliver solid results. Both can record videos in 4K at 30 FPS, and the quality is very good for a tablet. The S Pen, or at least the design of the S Pen, has been updated. It's still IP68 certified and can be magnetically attached to one of the longer sides. This pencil shape is new, however, and it feels better. It's more comfortable to hold. The built-in battery is gone, so the S Pen no longer needs to be charged. However, that also means no more air gestures. So you can't use the pen as a remote control for PowerPoint or as a camera remote control anymore. Samsung seems to be moving away from this feature in general, as the S25 Ultra doesn't support it anymore either. The writing and drawing feel is great. I personally prefer the new harder pen tip to the old S Pens, but only because it's still slightly softer than the Apple Pencil. I was able to write notes comfortably with it. My colleague Shandor, who draws a lot, also finds the new tip more comfortable, especially during long drawing sessions. It also remains the case that I consider Samsung Notes to be the best notes app for Android. You can not only write notes with it, but also annotate PDFs well, and so on. And sadly, Samsung Notes only works on Samsung tablets. It's also nice that the new S Pen is fully compatible with older tablets and vice versa. Old pens also work on the S11. That's a real plus. I tested the S11 with the Samsung book cover keyboard Slim and wrote the review for this tablet in a cafe with it, among other things. The typing feel is good, the keys have a pleasant travel, and you get used to the compact layout after a few days, so the keyboard is great. However, it's a shame that Samsung has changed the keyboard design. As a result, the S11 is no longer compatible with older keyboard covers. Too bad. So anyone upgrading from an S7, S8 or S9 has to buy the new cover separately, and as usual, official accessories are quite expensive. I also find it a pity that there isn't a version with a touchpad, at least not currently. Sure, there's a large touch screen, but sometimes the touchpad is more pleasant to use. Nevertheless, even if it isn't perfect, the keyboard is very well made overall and is definitely an accessory I wouldn't want to miss. Samsung ships the Tab S11 with One UI 8 based on Android 16. 7 years of software updates are included, which is always great with Samsung. There aren't any major software novelties. It's just the same as on Samsung's current smartphones, only adapted for tablets. And Samsung DeX makes more sense, especially with the keyboard cover, of course, and it works very well for the most part. There are some AI features such as summaries or text recognition, and you can have a sketch turned into a generated image. But I think Google's AI features are better, and I think almost everyone is better off with ChatGPT or Gemini. In our standard battery test, the Galaxy Tab S11 achieved a runtime of 12.75 hours. The battery life is slightly longer than the predecessors, and overall, that's a very good result. For this test in HD, YouTube video always runs on a continuous loop at max brightness. Overall, I really like the Samsung Galaxy Tab S11. We are finally getting a really bright AMOLED display that's pretty and sharp, as well as good speakers, a great S Pen, up-to-date software, and a high-quality design that's protected against water and dust. The performance is great too, although a Snapdragon chip would have been better for gamers. So if you're looking for a high-quality 11-inch Android tablet, the Tab S11 is an excellent choice. Also because there are hardly any alternatives in the premium league. The S9 is already a bit older and won't get updates in a few years. And otherwise there are upper mid-range tablets, but hardly any premium competitors, at least not in the 11-inch space. If you can do without an AMOLED and 120Hz, the 11-inch iPad Air is a great alternative for gamers. You can also get great keyboards and pens for it. The 11-inch iPad Pro has a slightly better display and better performance, but it's also significantly more expensive, especially when you factor in the pen. For gamers, the OnePlus Pad 3 is another exciting alternative. Sure, it's bigger and the LCD isn't quite as nice, but the performance of the Snapdragon 8 Elite is better for games, and it did well in our review. You should definitely check that one out next.